Welcome to Thou Shalt Not Kill, a podcast about marriage. Hosted by Scott and Ann Travis, this show speaks right to the heart of the challenges that couples face. As marriage veterans of 35 years, they've seen some shit, and they want to help you avoid the pitfalls that could fuck up your marriage. It's time to get your love affair with your spouse back on track to the place you've always hoped it would be, which is starting with the first rule: thou shalt not kill. Here's your hosts, Scott and Ann.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Welcome to another episode of Thou Shalt Not Kill.
Another podcast on marriage.
Today's topic.
Wait a minute, we're having fun though. Don't you think we're having fun?
I'm having a blast.
I hope you guys are enjoying what we're doing.
I hope so too.
We're just trying to bring some levity and light. And I know that what we're going to be doing here is hopefully we'll be able to give you some tools that you can work with, some things that have worked for us. We're just giving you real life experiences from our standpoint. After 35 years, I think we have a little bit of
insight
on some landmines and some gold mines. Ooh, that's
wow.
That was I didn't write that down.
Way to wax poetic, honey.
Oh gosh, gold mine and landmines
by Scott Travis.
So yeah, and I'm sure in the future we'll be expanding this podcast into some other good ventures that we are.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of topics when it comes to being married for 35 years.
Yeah, and hopefully you can meet some of you guys and
hear about your topics.
So Ann said, I want to talk about something. And I said, well, I don't even want to know where you're going with this. And I'm just going to kind of hopefully walk side by side with you because I don't know where you're going with this. So with that, you want to tell them what we're going to talk about?
Today we're going to talk about boundaries. Now, I'm not talking about boundaries between Scott and I. I'm talking about boundaries from external people, like maybe setting boundaries with your family or setting boundaries with your time or setting boundaries. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can set boundaries.
Okay.
So I think in the beginning, when you're very first married, some of the boundaries you need to establish are with your in-laws to some degree.
Okay.
I think there were times, both my parents have passed and both of Scott's parents, thank God, are still with us. But I can remember one time my mom, who is very vocal, we were sitting in the living room. She had walked out of the house for some reason. I think she was getting ready to leave. And she comes blazing back in the house. She's got my purse in her hand because I left it in my car unlocked. And she throws it on the couch and she goes, "You did not lock your door."
Here's the way the story went. This is Ann's version of it. Here's exactly how it went. It was Christmas Eve day. The front screen door opened, and Ann's mom, God bless her soul, had Ann's purse in her hand, and she had the look of the demon in her eyes. Ann was in the kitchen. I was sitting on the couch, and she goes, "Where's Ann?" I go, "Well, hello, Joan." And she stormed right by me and she started yelling at Ann. And I was like, whoa, this does not happen. You don't come into my house and start yelling at my wife. I don't care.
Boundaries.
I don't care if she's your daughter. I don't care what it is, but that's my wife now. And she just like Ann said, she threw the purse on the couch and she said, "You didn't lock your door." And Ann started to defend herself. I said, "Excuse me, Joan." I said, "You need to walk back out that door and knock on the door. That's not the way we're going to treat this house." So that was a huge
boundary setting time.
But we never set boundaries. We have learned to set boundaries as we've been married with each other.
Right.
We can say with each other, with our kids, with my mom, with her mom when she was alive, with her dad too. I mean, that was a big one too.
That was a big one.
So you go with the boundaries.
So here's another one. No, I'm not going to get into the one with my dad because it's just pointless. Let's get into, here's just simple boundaries. Your kids should know to knock on your bedroom door before they just barge in. I mean, that's how I feel about it. I don't want my teenage son walking into my room as I'm putting on my underwear. I don't want to be in the middle of lovemaking with my husband and have the kids come bounce on the bed. There should be a sanctuary in your house, in my opinion, that is strictly for the parents. Not that the kids can't come in. They can knock. But I think that is one boundary that needs to be set and set early. Do you agree with that?
Well, here's the thing about that is I'm just thinking about people that I know or that I have known that, nothing's off limit to their kids in the house. Nothing's off limits. It's their house. They can do what they want to. But I think that comes into a boundaries that you need to discuss with your partner. Because if one of them feels like, well, the kids can come in the room anytime I want to because they're the kids and it's their house too and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you need to discuss that with your partner. I mean, it's almost like the dogs. If you have animals, it's like, no dogs on the bed. I mean, that sounds so stupid, but if you wanted the dog on the bed and I didn't, we'd have a big, huge discussion about that and a boundary. And again, this sounds, when you said that we were going to talk about boundaries, I didn't know which way you're going to go with it. And I think that this can be a real trivial thing as far as boundaries, or you can get really detailed in it.
I think it could go either way too. What I'm doing is just giving an example of a boundary.
Yeah, I think so too. I think boundaries are better set between husband and wife moving forward. Because if you don't know what your partner's boundaries are, I mean, we've moved our boundaries between
Plenty
each
of
other.
times. Yeah.
I mean, that's just it.
I don't really feel like there's a boundary between you and I.
No, but I'm saying let's just be honest. If there's a sexual boundary that you want to stay with, if there's trigger word boundaries, it's like if you say this is going to put me over the edge. I mean, it's like
I'm thinking of a different form of boundary than what you're describing.
That's what I wanted you to take.
My thought of boundaries is setting boundaries that other people understand that those are boundaries. In other words, that boundary description wasn't a great one. Well, no, actually, I think it is a great one. In our family, the kids were told to knock on our door. That was one of their boundaries. Another boundary would be, for instance, Scott and I share each other's passwords on our cell phones. His password's the same as my password. I never would walk up to his phone, put in his password, and see what he's been up to. Because although we haven't set a boundary for that, that's just a respectful boundary that I would observe, because I would never do that to him.
Here's one that sounds completely weird. And you, to this day, 35 years married, I don't go in Anne's purse.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. Like, I could care less. Go in my purse.
I don't. She goes, will you get this out of my purse? I'll bring her purse to her.
I'll bring my purse every single time.
I just don't. And it's almost one of those things where I think that's and I may be really weird about this, but I think that's a sanctuary thing for a woman. But I don't care if you go through my wallet. That's what the weirdest thing is.
And maybe that was something that your mom had set. Maybe that was a boundary your mom set.
And if she did, it's nothing that was ingrained in my head. But it just goes back to the same thing. You go in my wallet and get whatever you want. You go to my phone, do whatever you want. Go on my computer, do whatever you want.
I don't go on your phone or computer.
I know that.
But I go in your money clip all the time.
Oh shit. Yeah. Some friends of ours just call me the wallet because that's what they see a lot of times. He goes, "Oh, the wallet's here."
Oh, the wallet's here. Oh, too funny. Anyway, boundaries. I think too, when you start to get, I don't know, maybe I should have done a lot more thinking about this before we started this topic.
It's not a big, just go. It doesn't have to be forever. I mean, you're just, what's a boundary? Okay. What is a boundary? What is a boundary that we have that's immovable?
We don't step outside our marriage.
Oh, well, that's, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a boundary. That's a huge boundary.
Well, here's now we're talking kind of sexual and stuff. And here's the funny thing too, is like just the pineapple thing that I posted.
Oh my God.
I posted something online the other day, last week, a couple weeks ago. And it was a picture of a pineapple on a doormat. And I tend to think that I'm pretty hip. I mean, I think that we're a hip couple. I think that we keep up with the times. We keep up with what's going on and everything else.
To a certain extent, I agree with that.
Yeah. And so I made this post and did something on there, and you would not believe the DMs that I got. Oh my God. Oh my God. Do you know what you did? First of all, it was my daughter who sent it to me, goes, "Oh my God, do you guys know what that means?" I'm like, well, it was kind of cool because I'm in a mastermind group with Lions Not Sheep, and one of our things is a pineapple. When things are going shitty, when everything's going down, just think of something stupid to get your mind off of it. Just kind of change the trajectory, pivot, do this, all this stuff. And it's like, that means you're swingers. You put that on your front door and swingers. People going, oh no, if you walk down the grocery store, you put your pineapple upside down
in your grocery
upside
cart.
down in your grocery store. It's like all of a sudden I feel like I walked into this fucking minefield of, oh my God, everyone now thinks that we're swingers and we're doing this. And it's like, oh shit.
We had no idea. Scott has a tattoo of a pineapple on his
I got
wrist.
a tattoo of my pineapple on my
And
thing.
it was just because we were in Hawaii, and so it was pertinent to Hawaii, and it was kind of a memento.
I get tattoos.
It's just so funny.
Instead of collecting refrigerator magnets, I collect tattoos from where we go, and it's like, holy mackerel! So the boundary of stepping outside of marriage, absolutely, that's
Huge boundary.
And honestly, I think that's never even been discussed.
It doesn't have to be discussed.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is,
But nevertheless, it's a boundary.
So
It's
when someone comes up to us and says, "Oh my gosh, you've got pineapples on your front doorstep and upside down here," it's like, God dang it! It's like, fill me in a little bit.
Okay, so we are definitely not into swinging. Definitely not. I think another boundary would be how you talk to each other.
That is a learned skill.
I agree. But I think that I don't ever try to treat you disrespectfully.
Yeah, that goes on to one of the other podcasts that we did on communication.
Mm-hmm.
You know, communication and apologies and all that other stuff is the communication as far as boundaries goes. I can tell Ann anything. I feel comfortable. So my boundary with Ann is absolutely infinite when it comes to discussion or conversation.
I agree.
I can, perfect example. I was a pool guy for 25, 28 years, built, serviced, blah, 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 all this other stuff. And the opportunities and I always told people, it's not as interesting as it is on the pornos, but it's pretty close. I mean, the things that happened when you're in the job, and I'm sure construction guys can say the same thing, and I'm sure women at their office can say this, stupid stuff like that too. But Ann knows everything. Mm-hmm. I can honestly say that if something happened at work that was inappropriate or something that happened that was presented, Ann would know about it. Number one, I'm a terrible liar and I don't remember shit. So I can't lie because I won't remember my lie and I won't remember how to go on with it.
Plus, the stories are so great. Why would you keep them to yourself?
Right?
It's so outrageous.
We had so much.
No, that didn't happen. Yes,
like,
happen.
If cell phones were a thing, and I would have had many cell phone pictures, many.
Anyway, we could definitely go on a tangent on that one.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I want to say for us, we really don't have boundaries in our communication.
No.
And I think that's
it. Other than keeping it civil, keeping it respectful, keeping it, not that we don't joke around and do stuff like that, but I mean.
Yeah, but so that getting back to the boundaries in our communication, I think if you can have an open, no boundaries in your communication with your partner, meaning that if Ann came up to me and said, listen, I went to because she was in landscaping and this never happened, but I'm just saying if it were to happen, hey, I went on a job estimate. This guy was insert whatever you want. He answered the door naked. He hit on me. He did something. He asked me to take him out for a drink or asked to take him out for a drink or whatever it is. She knows that she can come to me and I would listen. So
he's the first person I would tell.
Yeah. So the boundary there is she knows that she can say anything to me and not have me take it the wrong way.
I'm not going to have to deal with the overreaction on my husband's part.
Right. And conversely, the things that I've come home to tell her that's happened at my work, literally we've laughed about, or we're like, oh my gosh. And I've also said the same thing in my boundary space. If something that I felt uncomfortable with, even though I told Ann about it, I didn't feel comfortable going back. I would tell Ann, I'm not going to do that again. I mean, it's not that I did anything, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Actually a customer would do something or I would get propositioned for something or something would happen.
There was a couple times you quit customers because they got
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
There was, Oh shoot, I just had a thought and I lost it.
Well, just
keep going.
Keep
Cover for me until it comes back.
Yeah, no, just keep trying to think of it. So I think communication boundary, you need to be open in your communication. And this goes back to too, is when we first moved to Vegas, I'll just tell a quick little story, is it seemed as though, Vegas is what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So people that would come out, they'd go, oh, let's go to the strip club. It's like, it's okay. It's no big deal. It's whatever. So I really don't drink that much. I don't drink. I can't say I don't drink because I do, but I don't drink to get drunk and I don't get drunk. So I would always be the designated driver. So inevitably there'd be 4 or 5 guys. We'd all go out and hit a strip club or whatever. And I just started getting, and I'm not a prude, guys. If you know me, you know I'm not a prude. I just don't want to spend $6 to look at some ugly tits, plain and simple. I mean, I just got bored with that. But they're all hot and bothered to go do it. So at the end of the night, we'd be coming home 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. The guys would go, okay, let's get our story straight. I'm like, get our story straight. What do you mean? It's like, well, let's just tell them we went to a movie and out to dinner and a club. I'm like, I'm going to go home tonight. I'm going to tell my wife that we went to this strip club. I saw some nice titties and I saw some ugly titties, and I'm going to get her naked and we're probably going to make love. I mean, that's basically what my night consisted of. Whereas they were saying, it's like, well, we can't tell our wives that. It's like, why can't you tell your wife that?
Why can't you?
You know what I mean? It's like, so they had boundaries on what they would tell their wife. I had no boundaries on what I would tell my wife.
Well, and here's another thing, ladies. I'm going to address this to the ladies. If you don't want your husband going to a strip club, communicate that up front.
Tell him.
I don't want you going to a strip club. This is why I don't feel comfortable with that. I personally could give 2 shits if Scott goes to a strip club. I don't feel threatened by it. I'm not worried about it. He's coming home. He's not going to do anything I trust him. I totally trust him. And I just think that we all have a choice. We have a choice. If your husband wants to go to a strip club, is it really the end of the world? Hang on one sec, honey. Is it really the end of the world if your husband goes to a strip club? Because I think the bigger deal that you make out of something like that, the bigger deal it becomes. So it's kind of like your parents saying, no matter what you do tonight when you go out with your friends, don't drink.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you thinking now? Oh, what am I going to drink when I go out tonight with my friends? Do you know what I'm saying? So if you're telling your husband that that's such a huge deal that he can't go to a strip club, it's the ultimate taboo. Now you've just created a whole temptation that he's going to be struggling with. I don't know. To me, it's not that big a deal. I don't really care.
Well, and I don't want this whole thing, I don't want this boundaries thing to come up to where...
Just all about strip clubs.
Yeah, about strip clubs. Because again, it wasn't... let me just ask you this. Have I ever gone, that you know of, which is so stupid to say, but have I ever gone to a strip club besides those guys that we went to?
We went to a strip club one time together.
Oh, well, there you go.
And honestly, it was quite fun.
Yeah.
I had a good time.
So I think I went to a strip club on my bachelor party. I went to a strip club with those guys a couple of times. And then you're right. We went to a strip club together.
Yeah. And we had a blast.
But again, it's a boundary. We started this off with boundaries. It's like, I wasn't trying to push the boundary to do something that I know that she didn't like because there was a boundary there. It was an unwritten thing.
I flat out could give 2 shits.
I know.
If they go to a strip club, I don't care. Go play putt-putt golf. Go shopping. Go to a strip club. It's all the same. I don't care.
Yeah, it's not.
I'm not worried about it. But everybody's different, and I get that. But I don't know. We really got off the topic of boundaries.
No, it's still boundaries because of the boundaries. We don't have a boundary in that sense of. I can tell you anything. You could tell me anything, whether it be something that you don't want to hear or might not want to hear. It's like, we'll talk about it.
Right.
It's like, hey, babe, you're never going to believe what happened at work. And I will just throw up everything. It's like, oh my God, that really happened. It's like, yeah. Can you believe it?
Oh my God.
Like,
we could do a podcast on that.
Yeah.
Just thinking of some of the stories that go through my head. I'm like, oh my God. I think too, men are going to be men in a way. And I'm not saying that the minute he touches somebody else or it gets past that point, then that's wrong.
Well, there's a boundary. So there it is.
Yeah, there's your boundary. Don't touch. No touching.
Exactly. So,
but the other thing is, I don't know. I think because we're just so comfortable in our relationship. So Scott is an alleged boob man. Thank God he's not
alleged.
Scott is a boob man.
Thank you.
And we'll be out. And I know some women get really bothered when their partner looks at other women. Men are going to look. They're just going to look. And quite honestly, ladies, if a man walked by and he's just God's gift to women, I'm probably going to take a look. It doesn't mean I want to go out with him. I don't even care what his name is. I don't want to have anything to do with him.
2-pack, 6-pack?
2-pack, 12-pack.
2-pack, 12-pack.
So we'll get to that in a second. But we're out shopping one day and this lady walked by and her nipples were so erect. It looked like she had 2 pencil erasers under her shirt. And I knew.
Gorgeous.
So I'm like, you caught that, right?
I know.
Like,
I mean, have I got the best wife? It's like, she'll go, did you just see? And this girl's bending over with no bra. And she's like, did you see that? I'm like, hell yes, I did. You crazy? He goes, like, she goes, good job. I'm like, thank you. It's the whole thing about it though. Is like how many times, and this is really getting kind of personal and stuff here with what we're talking about. It's like, I just appreciate your boobs. I mean, how many times a day? I appreciate
that you appreciate my boobs.
So it's like, what I'm attracted.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love that you love my boobs. Here's another thing that's funny. I was going to work one morning. I would get to work quite early because the guys would come in at 6. So it's probably about 4:30 in the morning. And I stopped at the gas station because I used to smoke like a maniac when I worked. And I stopped at the gas station to get some cigarettes. I walk in the door and there's this man standing there. And this is probably the most physically perfect man I've ever seen. He was gorgeous. And so I'm standing there and waiting for him to finish ringing up. Well, what he's buying is 2 packs of cigarettes and a 12-pack of beer. This guy is physically perfect. I'm not kidding around. His legs were perfect. His whole build was perfect and a great looking face. Just an amazing looking man.
He had to be one of those dancers on the strip, like
that's I think too. Like he was an entertainer or Cirque du Soleil or something like that. No,
he wasn't.
Oh, you're thinking Thunder Down Under?
Yeah, he was a Thunder Down Under.
Okay,
dude. Because about a month later, we're in the grocery store and
hang on. So I see this guy and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking. And so I go into work and I tell my husband, and I say something to the cashier. I'm like, oh my gosh. And for some reason there was 2 other ladies in there. We're all just like giggling because this guy was so beautiful. And the cashier goes, yeah, he's got a huge drinking problem. We've had to kick him out before because he drinks so much. And I'm like, oh, that's too bad. Anyway, I go to the office. I tell Scott about this guy, about how he bought 2 packs of cigarettes and a 12-pack of beer. We started calling him 2-pack, 12-pack. And I'm just telling him this man was absolutely beautiful. Okay, fine. Moving on. Scott's not threatened. I'm not lusting after this guy. Just beauty is beauty. So about a month later, we're at the grocery store. Go ahead.
So at the grocery store and Anne's paying. And all of a sudden I see this guy and literally the guy was beautiful. If I was gay, he would be my number one pick.
I mean, he have good taste.
Yeah, she does have good taste. This guy was like the V. I mean, he probably had a 30-inch waist and a 60-inch chest. I mean, he was huge, and he was wearing shorts and kind of a tank top. And he had this 12-pack of beer, and he was standing buying cigarettes. I'm like, oh shit! And I'm like, Ann. I go, is that him? And she's like, What are you talking about? Yeah. I'm like, is that 12-pack, 2-pack? And she looks over there and her face just like changed. She morphed into being at 4:30 in the liquor store going, oh my God, this guy, there he is. Oh my God, there he is. Obviously.
Are you talking about the dreamy expression on my face?
The dreamy expression, yeah. I saw the little bluebirds around your head just like spinning. Oh my God, there he is. So here, let's just go back, and now we just got off topic.
Okay, so there's just no boundaries.
There's no boundaries. So this was probably 10, 12 years ago. Ann was hiring a new a sales guy for her work, right? And she goes, yeah, I really want you to meet him. He's a nice guy and everything else. Well, son of a bitch, I walk into her office, and again,
I brought him home. We were in the area doing a bid and we were together, so I brought him home.
So all of a sudden, that's right, you brought him home. So all of a sudden I hear the back door close. Hey, honey, I want you to meet my new sales guy. I go, okay, no problem. It was like Jesus walked in the house. There's lights were behind him. This guy was fucking gorgeous. And I'm like going, are you serious? You hired this guy to be in your office all fucking day?
Yep.
And she goes, yep. I'm like, okay, well, it's all good with me, But those are the things that we laugh about them. And again, I don't feel threatened. We laughed about it then. So the boundary is I completely trust Ann with whatever. Ann completely trusts me. Yes. And if there is some type of breakdown, or if I feel threatened or if she feels threatened, we communicate about it. It's nothing. It's not. And so that when we first started out this podcast, we said, the boundaries move. we know that we have a hard and set fast rule of our boundaries. It's her and I. That's it. She's got an innie. I got an outie. That's the only two that work in our house. That's it. Other than that, our boundaries, obviously we set boundaries with our kids. We've set boundaries. We have set boundaries with friends. That's another one too. We set boundaries with friends. We set boundaries with our time with people, but we've gotten really...
We set major boundaries with work, with not taking calls at all hours of the day because we deserved a life.
This podcast seriously is to get the communication open and express your boundaries to your partner. Tell them what you accept, what you don't accept, whether that's... And again, the easiest one is bedroom, but that's just a blip in the boundaries as far as your whole life is concerned.
But here's the thing: when you're setting boundaries, don't make it a laundry list of rules.
Oh God,
don't do that. That doesn't serve anybody. You're just going to frustrate yourself. You're going to frustrate your partner. You're hearing what we're saying. We have boundaries. We basically have one boundary when it comes to our marriage.
Yeah,
that's it. That one boundary that I'm aware of.
Yeah. But again, it's the boundaries within everything else, and they change. They need to be communicated. And if someone steps outside that boundary that hasn't been communicated, that's a perfect time to start talking about it.
Start talking about your boundary. Yeah.
And again, we don't have a list of boundaries. So it's not as though it's a checklist. Oh, I can go to Burger King, but I can't go to Carl's Jr. I can go to Starbucks, but I can't go to Dutch Brother. It's like, no,
Here's a boundary that I set for myself because I used to break this boundary all the time when we were first married in the early years. I would be pissed at Scott and I would just be happy to tell somebody at work how pissed I was at my husband. And they would have to sit there and listen to me go, blah, blah, blah. He really pissed me off. He did this, he did that. He's such a jerk, da, 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 da. I don't do that anymore. I don't tell if I'm mad at my husband, that's between him and I. I don't share that with somebody else. So I would say for me, that's another boundary. I just don't do that because why? How does that serve us? It just doesn't.
Yeah, I don't. I work majority of the time in my career. I work by myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have anybody to bounce off of as far as. Yeah, no, I know, but I mean, I didn't have anybody to go and say, "Oh, Ann's being such a bitch," blah blah blah, because I don't think that serves. The only thing that would serve me
to get it off your chest.
It's just get off my chest, but I didn't. It was no.
Maybe guys just don't operate like that.
I don't know. I don't know.
So, I don't anymore either.
Anyway, so that's our boundary talk. I know we kind of went round and round on boundaries, but I think the main point is discuss your boundaries with your partner. And you don't have to figure them all out right the first day.
And it doesn't have to be like there's a bunch of them either.
No, just what you're comfortable with, what you're willing to accept.
Yeah,
that's it.
I think we could have done a better job on this, but
no, I think it's good.
That's our boundary.
Your boundary. Can I go and break your boundary right now?
Please do.
Okay. With that, guys, have a good one.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
I love you.
You love me?
I do love you.
I love you too.
Good.
See ya.